Why do some people park like idiots? There are two possibilities. Either they lack imagination and simply cannot understand that their behavior might be problematic for others, or, on the contrary, they are not short of money. They think the worst thing that could happen to them is a fine for improper parking, which would be a trivial amount, and they are mistaken. Penalties for improper parking are increasingly and more willingly being handed out by citizens themselves, and not just by those who are personally affected by bad parking. In today's episode, I invite you to a compilation of the 10 most interesting fines for improper parking. Number 10. At the beginning of the year, the owner of a construction supply store in a small town decided to move the car of a man who had parked in a customer parking spot and then shamelessly went to the gym. He did this using a forklift. As it turns out, this type of justice is more common around the world than we might think. There are plenty of videos online where impatient property owners, parking space owners, or even workers move cars of inconsiderate drivers using forklifts. However, in 2016, a Chinese man took this punishment to a whole new level. When someone blocked his garage, he not only moved the car using a forklift, but he actually placed it on top of the garage roof. Well, if someone wanted to park so close to the garage, now they'll have an even closer spot. Number 9. In 2018, a Russian man, irritated by his neighbor constantly parking across two parking spaces, decided to resort to drastic measures, specifically using an angle grinder from his car's trunk. In a video that at the time went viral on social media, we can see the man cutting off the corner of a white car with the grinder, tearing it off by hand, and then reversing his own car into the gap he created. Many people in the comments called the driver a hero, claiming he had fulfilled the silent wish of many, but damaging the corner of the car was still nothing. There have been cases where enraged drivers, whose cars were blocked, cut the blocking vehicle in half. Some even cut their own cars. For example, in 2008, a Briton named Ian Taylor became so furious when a wheel clamp was placed on his car just because his vehicle stuck out a few centimeters into an unauthorized area that he decided to cut his car in half. He wanted to show the traffic wardens that if they were so meticulous, they should just take the back half because only the rear part of the car was breaking the law. Number 8. A resident of Seattle, whose driveway was blocked by a car from a car-sharing service and whose car-sharing company was unwilling to remove the vehicle, decided to take matters into his own hands. He built a fence around the car and hung the following sign: "Agents, representatives, and customers of the car service are not allowed to enter this property." To gain access to the vehicle, contact Dan Smith. The man then demanded that the company not only remove the car, but also pay a trouble fee of $500, a fee for building the fence of $300, and a storage fee of $65 per day. In the end, the company relented, covered the costs, and released the car after several weeks of delay. Number 7. The cemented car in Poland. The car whose owner didn't move it in time before the roadworks, so the workers poured concrete around it. However, this is nothing compared to what happened to a car in China. The workers didn't even secure it or place boards around it. They simply poured cement over it, all the way up to the doors, as if the car wasn't even there. After all, theoretically, it shouldn't have been there at all. Number 6. The authorities in New York, in order to punish those parking in prohibited areas, no longer use typical wheel clamps. As you may recall from many videos, wheel clamps no longer make an impression on Americans. Since April of this year, the local police have been testing new devices called barnacles. Barnacles are sea creatures known for their strong attachment to surfaces. Similarly, the mentioned device adheres very firmly to the front windshield using suction cups, significantly limiting visibility and preventing the car from being driven away. The undeniable advantages of barnacles are their quick installation, which takes only 20 to 30 seconds, compared to 2 to 3 minutes for traditional wheel clamps, as well as the option for self-removal. All you need to do is scan a QR code, pay a fine of $200, and in response, you'll receive a code that will unlock the barnacle and allow you to remove it. Number 5. A similar method is used in China. Instead of leaving a regular parking fine under the windshield wiper, the local traffic police attach huge suction cups to vehicles. While these don't block visibility as they are attached to the doors, they do have another interesting feature. Thanks to a built-in timer and GPS, the fine for improper parking automatically increases with each passing hour or day the car remains in a prohibited spot. The suction cup can only be removed after scanning a QR code and paying the accumulated fee. Number 4. You've probably seen at least one picture of a car parked on an automatic parking bollard, of course, not knowing it was parked on such a bollard until the bollard rises, along with the car. But have you ever seen a picture of a scooter on a toilet? This incident occurred in March of this year. Two girls spending a Friday evening in downtown Alkmaar, Netherlands, parked their scooter on a retractable public toilet. Apparently, they didn't notice the painted sign in the area and had no idea that the toilet automatically rises at 9 p.m. One of the restaurant owners saw what happened and decided to teach the girls a lesson. Before the toilet lifted, he made sure the scooter was securely fastened. After a few minutes of stress, wondering if they would have to call the fire department, the owner finally relented, lowered the scooter using a remote control, and allowed the girls to return home. Number 3. Sometimes the best parking fines come from nature itself. In 2016, several cars ended up underwater after their owners, who were attending a nearby festival in Wisconsin, decided to save money on parking meters and park their vehicles on a frozen lake. As it turned out, the ice wasn't as strong as their thick, miserly heads had judged. Under the weight of the cars, the ice cracked, and several vehicles plunged into the lake. But at least the owners were left out in the cold. Number 2. In 2015, an angry driver from Boston took revenge on a parking space thief, which he had personally shoveled, by burying his car under a mountain of snow. In the US, there is an unwritten rule that during heavy snowfalls, drivers can claim the parking spaces they've cleared and leave a space saver on them for up to 48 hours. Unfortunately, his neighbor didn't respect this rule and decided to take the space just a few hours after it had been cleared. Little did he know that along with the parking spot, he would also receive the freshly removed snow piled on top of his car. Number 1. Employees at the Cotto supermarket in Buenos Aires decided to punish a driver who parked in a shopping cart return area by essentially doing nothing out of the ordinary, just returning the carts to their designated spot, as they do every day. The owner of the gray Peugeot 208 must have been quite surprised when he returned from his shopping to find his car literally trapped in a cage. One can only imagine how many coins he had to use to unclip and move each cart to free his vehicle. Okay, just like the people born in Las Vegas, because you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. With that, we'll wrap up today's episode. Make sure you haven't missed any previous episodes from this series. In the meantime, I say goodbye to you. See you in the next videos on the channel. Bye.